The first atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima, a military base. If Japan does not surrender, bombs will have to be dropped on her war industries, and unfortunately, thousands of civilian lives will be lost.
8, 7.
It took the bomb 43 seconds from the time we dropped it at 30,000 feet until the time it exploded at 18,000 feet. The first thing you saw was that large white cloud that was up well above our altitude. If you look down to the city of Hiroshima, it just looked like a pot of boiling oil covering the city.
6, 5.
To say it was frightening is an understatement. I think it shocked us all into silence. When the flash hit you, you could see the x-rays of your hands through your closed eyes.
4, 3.
Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
2, 1.
I bomb atomically.
Welcome to the Bomb Atomically podcast, the only podcast where Socrates' philosophies and hypotheses can't define how we be dropping these mockeries. I'm Tones. I'm joined by J-Mac.
What's going on, everybody?
And here with Professor Joey.
I love a movie that has a whack and a toke in it.
Yeah. How you guys doing? I mean, it's been, it took a little holiday hiatus, took like an extra week off, but we're back, episode 6. We're here to talk about the Lighthouse. Before we do that, though, we got a couple things. First, just want to let you know what we're doing next week, our next episode. So we're going to change things up a little bit. We're going to do a documentary. We haven't done one of those yet. So we're actually going to be doing 2 documentaries. First one called Unacknowledged, and the second one, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. So Unacknowledged, from what J-Mac was telling me, it's his suggestion. It's about kind of aliens overall in general. And then the second one kind of builds off that, and it has to do with communicating with aliens through our consciousness and all that. And I haven't seen it yet. I don't know. It sounds pretty crazy, but I think it should be interesting. You said it was the same guy that made both of them?
Yeah, I believe, was it Stephen Greer is the dude's name? He's Dr. Stephen Greer. He made both of them. They're both available on Amazon Prime to stream. So if you got that, you want to check them out for the episode, I suggest doing it. It'll be a lot of fun and interesting stuff.
Yeah, should be some good.
Doing it. Wow.
Yeah. Should be some good conversation there. So we got a couple Spotify songs, but before we get into that, just real quick, I mentioned this in the group chat to you guys. I want to talk about this game I've been playing a little bit. I don't know how many of our listeners out there play video games at all.
I know. I love Super Mario Karts too, man. That shit is awesome.
It's all to say, get into it.
Yeah.
Tell us about your Zelda.
Yeah, so there's a game. So I've got my PS5 kind of recently, and there's not a lot of games out for it yet. So I was just going through, and they have a lot of free games from like PS4 that are available. So, since there's nothing else for me to really play, I've been going through those. And there's one called Detroit Become Human. And basically it takes place 20 years in the future. And I figured the reason why I bring it up is I feel like our show, our audience would appreciate this. It's 20 years in the future, and AI androids are basically like a household appliance. Like you get this android to kind of walk around your house, do your dishes, cook for you, all kinds of stuff like that. And it's a choose your own adventure kind of game. So you kind of come up with the story as you go along. Like decisions you make early in the game affect it down the line. So you got 3 main characters. You got Kara, who belongs to an abusive, drunk husband, right? So like that's kind of it's like him and his daughter, and he's like abusive, and so there's that aspect to it. Then there's another one, Marcus, who he's owned by like an older artist. Kind of like a philosophical guy. He tries to make him think, rather than just be an android. And then you got Connor, who's an android who's used to hunt down other androids that go rogue, right? So long story short, there's like 3-4 dozen possibilities you can go with, but Marcus kind of starts leading a revolution, and you could choose to do like a violent revolution or a peaceful revolution. I just thought it was interesting because usually I go to TV or movies or even books for like my stories, but this game I played through like 2 or 3 times. Like I was obsessed with it. I made like 2 or 3 different movies. Like I was telling you guys, the first one I did was a combination of Ex Machina, like these machines becoming sentient, and Planet of the Apes, because it looked like a violent revolution and stuff. So I don't know. I just figured talk about it a little bit. I don't know if you guys have anything to say. I just want to kind of recommend it. If you're if you're into games that have like really good storylines and get you kind of interested like that, definitely check it out. Detroit Become Human. You kind of make it whatever you want to make it, Great.
Video games.
Great. So again,
it's so crazy. Like the video games, I used to love video games, man, back in the day, and now I never play video games.
Yeah, I was lucky. Like during like Christmas time, I had a lot of free time on my hands, so that's what I was doing. I was playing that. Yeah, it was pretty cool because like there's the one character who I said hunts down the other androids. And I made him like a Terminator type character, right? Like he was ruthless, like he would just had no problem just pop another android. But then if you do it a different way, you could do it where like he starts to develop like, feelings and emotions, and he feels bad after shooting another android, and then like, and he's got like a police, like a partner he works with. And it's kind of like a buddy cop thing. Like there's all these different tropes you could explore, depending on the decisions you make. So I just thought it was very unique because most of the games it's like, they kind of lead you down a path. Okay, you got to do this, then you do that, then you do that. But this, you could kind of make it end however you want, really. So I thought that was pretty cool.
I just love making cruiserweights in WWE and jumping over the top rope onto the outside.
Hey, that's fun too. You like before these last couple of weeks. I mean, everything I've been playing is either shooter games or like sports games, which are fun as well. But like sometimes you want a little bit more.
Yeah, the only thing that I mess with really are like GTA and Red Dead and stuff, and that's not even online. I just like running around and shooting things and blowing stuff up when I get some free time. But then I'll play and I'll get mad at myself, like, oh, I should have been doing this instead, Like I got so much crap I could be doing, but I sat here and messed with this video game for an hour and a half, Yeah. So.
Yeah. So I don't know.
It is getting freaky though, like. Over Christmas, my nephew got an Oculus. We were messing around with that thing, and it's like, bro, what the hell? Like, we are not far off from some like real life Ready Player One kind of
the metaverse is coming
scenario. Yeah, it's gonna be crazy.
It's so crazy when you said freaky. That was the first thing that came into my head because I was in what store? Target last week with my kids and my sister, and I was just staring at the Oculus like. It was like a lady working out in the video, and I was like, yeah, I've been very, conscious exercising lately. Maybe I should. No, what am I fucking crazy?
I know. I was thinking that's what my son was playing a boxing game, and when he was done, he was literally like, "Yo, my arms are killing me. Like I can't even pick my arms up anymore. Like it's a legit workout." But I just know, like, if I put that thing on. Like there goes any other kind of hobby that I might want to take part in. It's just I'll be so wrapped up in that thing.
I've also seen all the videos of like people punching their kids or like running into walls like with the headsets on, not like realizing where they are. Like
I saw a dude like dive through like a 70-inch television on the wall and just destroy it. Like he's just running like full speed and just blasted it.
Yeah. That's what I'm worried about that. I've seen, I don't know how like commercially available they are, but I've seen they have these like 360-degree treadmills where like you're in a harness and you run, but like you stay in place, but like the treadmill moves underneath you, so you could do that. That would be like
it's like a omnidirectional treadmill or something they call it.
Right.
I saw a guy go on that show Shark Tank years ago and was trying to sell it, and they were like who could afford this? And then they were like, well, who would even have space in their house for this thing? It was crazy.
If that was practical and like, in terms of like space and money, I would be interested in it. But like for now, like I know I'm end up putting a fist through a wall or something, or like running into my TV, like you said. So I'm gonna hold off for now. But yeah, the future's here. The future's here.
It's here, man.
Did you see that shit with Walmart? But they got that like personalized shopping shit now. So they're gonna. I don't know if it's out yet, but basically there's like an employee that wears like a camera on their head, and they walk up and down the aisles, and you could tell them to like I need milk, I need eggs, whatever, and they'll grab it and they bring it to your house and they stock your fridge for you.
That's insane.
Wow.
So that's what I'm saying, bro. Like that, all
So
that shit.
much.
Like you put on a little Oculus headset, you're walking through Walmart, you're watching it. Grab me that, grab me that. You know.
Yeah, and there's some kid making $3 an hour to put milk in my refrigerator.
Well, getting back to the game I was talking about, how much longer until you got an Android doing that shit?
Yeah.
You know. I don't know. We'll see. But we'll go into Spotify. We got a couple songs. Anyone want to kick it off?
I'll kick it off. I got a quick, just little list here. So usually every morning, and especially when I'm in the kitchen cooking, I have, I don't want to say her name because she'll turn on. She's right over there. The dot, the A dot, Al, X, and then the first letter A.
Thing freaks me out. We'll be in the house and it'll be like, could you repeat that? It's like, I wasn't even talking to you. Stop listening to me.
Yeah, no, it's so freaky, dude. Especially the fact that now you can request your information and they'll send you thousands of hours of fucking your recordings, and you'll probably hear me saying like, I'm gonna fucking cut your head off, you son of a bitch, you bastards. Fucking talking crazy shit. But anyway, so every morning when I'm getting the kids and the wife stuff ready, and when I cook in the kitchen, I throw on Sirius XM. And they have a channel. They have certain channels that are like only for the internet part of it. You can't like get it in the car. One of them is Oldies Party. So it's like the old school oldies, like from the 50s and 60s. It used to be like 101.1 in back in the day. Mm-hmm. So a couple of songs from that era, I'm gonna give you guys that the thing is, it plays like. There's only so many songs from that era, I guess, because they always play the same fucking songs. But here's a couple of songs. Shake, Rattle, and Roll by Big Joe Turner. Shake, rattle, and roll. This one line. I'm like a one-eyed cat peeping in a seafood stove. Like, yo, he's definitely fucking talking about the dongo. A little horn dog, right? One-eyed cat peeping in the seafood store. Come on.
See, at least back then they were clever with it. Now you listen to some of the music, and they just come right out and say, I'm going to fuck you in the ass or something like that. It's like, whoa.
Now it's like, I'll fuck a bitch, I'll fuck a hoe, I'll fuck a ass, oh. But speaking of fucking buttholes, The Book of Love by the Monotones. Who wrote the Book of Love?
That's in the Stand By Me soundtrack, ain't it?
I don't know.
Not
Maybe.
sure.
Stand By Me's a phenomenal.
It would fit the era.
Yeah.
Another one, Get a Job, The Silhouettes. Get a job. Boom. Yip, 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 get a job. Hell yeah. That shit is fucking badass, bro. And see you later, alligator. After a while, crocodile. Bill Haley. Fucking great songs, man. They don't make music like that no more, bro. Something about that music that just... If you're watching the video, yeah, you see me.
Tap your foot, snapping your finger,
You hear it. Yeah. So a couple of tracks from the... Then there's another one that I have no clue, sings it, and I don't know the lyrics because it's just like making the sounds. And I can't even remember it right now off the top of my head, so there you go.
Great. Nice. All right. Yeah. J-Mac, you got a couple?
Yeah, man. Knowing from past, Spotify list, I tend to basically just listen to like hardcore East Coast hip hop. But once in a while I do need to chill the fuck out. I want to just relax a little. And I do enjoy the Jackson 5.
Sure.
And I actually found the like best of Jackson 5 list that every once in a while I'll throw on. And most people already know, like, I Want You Back and ABC, and I'll be there. But my favorite Jackson 5 songs, other than those, there's Never Can Say Goodbye, there's Got to Be There, Maybe Tomorrow, which Ghostface Killer samples for the song with Mary J. Blige. I can't. Why it just went right out of my head, the name of that song. Anyway, and Mama's Pearls. Mama's Pearls just puts me in like a fantastic mood. So
Yeah,
those
I
were
don't know
Jackson
that.
5 songs for this week.
Nice.
I don't think I the first three I might know if I heard it. Mama's Pearls, I can't say I've heard that at all. Like I don't even ever even heard that title.
It's fantastic.
I have
You
to
gotta check
listen
it
to
out,
that.
man.
When the
It's so
playlist comes
chill.
out, I
Sounds
will.
like
Chill
sounds like the
music.
title of one of those videos we were talking about earlier, off air.
Yeah.
Little inside joke there.
That episode will be coming soon.
So actually, I got two this week. So I was mentioning playing video games before. I've been playing the new Battlefield game, which just basically just run around and shoot people. It's fun. But I've been listening to Metallica 1, which is very fitting. So I'll just, if you don't know the song, it's basically about a guy who gets severely wounded in some kind of battle, and he's just laid up in a hospital bed, can't see, can't hear, can't talk, just hooked up to life support, and it's, you know, they make it pretty nightmarish from the,
Absolute horror.
yeah.
How can I
How
live?
can I live? How can I die? You know,
Straight to my
landmines
soul.
have taken my sight, taken my speech, taken my hearing, taken my arms, taken my legs, taken my soul, left me with life in hell.
Isn't that based off the book Johnny Got His Gun?
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I believe. I know they have the song that's based off that book. I don't know enough about Metallica to say that's definitely it, but they do have a song that's based off of Johnny Got the Gun.
They are very literary. Isn't For Whom the Bell Tolls, like, isn't that a book also? It's based on that?
That's Steinbeck? No. Hemingway.
Okay.
For Whom the Bells Toll.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Hemingway.
they got a song on that. And I was, because this is like a 7 or 8 minute song, and I was looking at the lyrics, and I was like, there's barely any words in this. So I did the math. There's 205 words in that entire song. And it's like an 8-minute song. So that's pretty wild. There's a lot of shredding guitar. So if you're into that, that's cool. And then the other song.
Hemingway, by the way.
Hemingway, For Whom the Bell Tolls? Yeah. Okay. Another song, I've been listening to a lot of Immortal Technique lately. Most people are familiar with him from, you know, Dance with the Devil. That's not the song I'm picking. If you haven't heard that, check it out. It's a trip. But
If it's anything like that grape ass guy, so with that grape ass song,
Grape ass guy. Fuck are you talking about?
I don't know, some song that he put on the playlist.
was it
Some
the
weird ass
Japanese
shit.
one?
No, I don't know. It was like grape ass. There was and like 5 other people. It was
I don't
weird.
remember. I'd have to go back and look at my Spotify.
It's probably the Japanese rap
Might be
song.
Itchy-
Waka
was-
Flocka Flame, I think wasn't it?
Ichima. Ichima.
Ichima.
I think that's what it was. Ichima. But no, it's not like that. This actually,
Grape ass.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now.
I can't remember
Oh,
where.
Keith Ape. I don't know where I got
Ape.
grape ass.
Yeah, that's close enough. Keith Ape, yeah. The Orca Squad, that's what they call themselves.
Oh, G-Ma. G-Ma remix.
Ichima, yeah. Yeah, they didn't have the original on there, so those are all the American rappers, but the original's all Japanese, but I digress. Immortal Technique. I don't know where I heard this song. J-Mac, you might have showed it to me, but I heard this back in high school originally, and I hadn't heard it for years, and it showed up on my YouTube. But Frontlines with Immortal Technique, Diabolic.
It's actually from Diabolic's album, first album.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't think it was from Immortal Technique shit, but I mean, just listening to any of Immortal Technique songs, I mean, he's probably one of the most intelligent lyricists I've ever heard. Like in terms of like the knowledge he drops within his lines. Like I just got a couple quick quotes right here. So he starts off his verse. They say the success of my music was theoretic, but my revenge is sweet enough to murder diabetics. Eugenics, Procter & Gamble, credit racial science couldn't produce a more aggressive intellectual giant. So we all know what eugenics is, right? You know, it's the science. So apparently back in the day, the founder of Procter & Gamble was very pro-eugenics, right? So eugenics, Procter & Gamble, then credit racial science, right? Eugenics is a racial science, you know, has to do with genes and stuff like that. Couldn't produce a more aggressive intellectual giant. So what he's saying is, even if you got all your best eugenics science, all the corporations behind it funding it, like you couldn't produce a more aggressive intellectual giant than me. I thought that was pretty cool. Another one real quick. I look at character. I never let the color get to you. I got white revolutionaries like Muslims in Chechnya, percussion thumping like the Russian mafia over you. But even they know what it's like when you're fighting for svoboda. So I'm like, what the fuck is svoboda? So I look it up. In Slavic languages, it means freedom or liberty. So he's talking about white revolutionaries in Chechnya and the Russian mafia and svoboda fighting for freedom. Like, I don't know, just a whole lot going on there.
It's like a Serbian film.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, more or less. And then the last one, I'll finish it off because I know we're running a little long. He finishes the verse off. I'm like the whole library in Kemet with Anunnaki genetics. So I didn't know what Kemet was. I looked it up. That's what Egypt was called before it was like Egypt. And the theory is that they were the first people to really have a library and keep track of documents and stuff like that. And then Anunnaki, I don't know if you're familiar with like kind of the ancient alien kind of theory, but the theory is that the Anunnaki are a race of aliens who came here and gave us their DNA to kind of help us along in evolution. So basically, he's saying his knowledge is ancient and has been there from the start, and his genetics, same kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, honestly, you listen to one of his songs, you break down his lyrics, you're getting a history lesson, a social commentary lesson, all the above. Like he's very underappreciated, because he steps on a lot of toes. So I get why he doesn't get the airplay he should.
Who is this again? Inspector Deck?
No,
Immortal Technique.
Immortal Technique.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, in that same song, Diabolic has that line where he says he walks the fine line between Einstein and Charles Manson.
Yeah.
Always like that.
Yeah. Nice.
That's a get pumped song. That's a like punch a bitch in the face song.
See, you always talk about songs make you want to rob a bodega. This makes you want to overthrow a government. Listening to this song. But I digress.
Slap on a beret and get wild in the streets.
My son used to know like every word to that song when he was a little kid, like a little kid.
Yeah.
Probably way too young to know every word of that song.
Yeah, like I said, I listened to it in high school and I liked it because it was like it was hard. It went hard, and I was like, oh, this is dope. But listen to it back now, actually looking at the lyrics, I'm like, holy shit. And there's a dozen other things I just didn't even touch on because I didn't want to take too much time on it. But yeah, so that's the Spotify. That'll be up on the playlist tomorrow. I guess we'll hop in a Lighthouse, huh?
Yeah, let's do it.
Unless Joey's got a song for us.
No, not tonight.
Okay. All right.
It's just the song that I don't know it, but all I know is the sounds it makes.
Oh, was that the one you were talking about? I think I actually know what song you're talking about.
It's either in a Bronx Tale, beginning.
Yeah. One of those fucking movies.
Yeah.
Baby, baby, won't you talk about you? Yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna check my emails while Joey's singing. Oh, he's done. Okay. All right.
Done. Let's go.
Okay. All right. So the Lighthouse.
I want a copyright infringement on it.
Yeah. No DMCA's here. Lighthouse by Robert Eggers, starring Robert Pattinson and William Dafoe. Any initial thoughts? I know, Joey, this was your first time. J-Mac,
Let me drop it quick because I'll probably be faster than you two.
Okay.
Because Tones, this is a favorite of yours. Joey, this is a first time watch for you, and it's right up your douchebaggery fucking alley.
Right up the old keister.
Pretentious douchebaggery that you love. No, this was a theater watch for me. The first time I saw it, I actually went to a midnight showing by myself. I had some crazy stuff going on down here in Florida with the family, and I was just burnt out. And I got home and I couldn't sleep, and I saw it was playing. I wanted to check it out, and I figured this wouldn't be up my wife's alley. So I was like, I'm gonna go check this out on my own. And the first watch, man, it was cool. I found it interesting. Nice little descent into madness kind of movie. When it came up streaming again, I checked it out again, and second watch, you could appreciate more of the deeper stuff in it, but watching around this time, man, I don't feel like it has the same rewatchability as some of my more this dude did The Witch too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I feel like I could watch The Witch like way more often than I could watch this. if that makes sense.
Right.
But like overall, I do enjoy this. Like this isn't a terrible movie. It doesn't take away from the movie. It's just once you kind of understand the themes he's getting at, it's like to me that's all there is to it. As where like other A24 movies, you know, Hereditary, one of my favorites, Midsummer's definitely like has probably made it to like the number 2 favorite movie of all time at this point. I could watch those over and over again, and I don't know if I could sit through this that many times.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
it's because of all the farting.
Probably
doesn't help.
But you know, with that being said, there's a lot of cool shit in it that we'll get to. So I do appreciate it. I don't dislike it. It's just I'm not as high on it as, you know, definitely as like Tomes is, and we'll see how Joey feels by the end of it all.
No, I real quick, I do agree with you because I was obsessed with this movie when it came out, and I've watched it. Like, it came out in 2019. I probably watched it 6 or 7 times already. Like every couple months I'll watch it, and I do agree that after a while it kind of has a little diminishing returns. So I can see what you're saying. I still love it, but I definitely see what you're saying. But Joey, I'll let you get into it.
The Witch is one of my favorite horror movies. It's so well made, and this is also very well made. But I think what distinguishes the difference is the depth of characters, the depth of story and plot in The Witch versus the lack of that in The Lighthouse, right? Like, they're polar opposites. You're in the woods that's all colorful, versus the black and white, what's the claustrophobic, right?
Yeah, confinement.
You know, straight up 2 characters, a fish woman and a fucking blonde Anthony Michael Hall looking motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like, so, you know, we'll get to all that shit soon. But I think this movie is more comparable to high-end literature, right? Where you don't crack this open on a Friday night for fucking entertainment. You know what I mean? This shit is like a painting that you hang in a museum. You know what I mean? That speaks volumes. But, like, again, you're not going to, you know, like, Friday the 13th, you pop that shit on with your friends. You fucking laugh at the kills and the stupidity of it. You have a couple jumps. It's a fun night. You watch this, like, you're not walking away like, oh, yeah, that was the fucking, you know, you're walking away talking about the bigger picture questions, the deeper questions and stuff like that, you know, like the auteur that this guy is. This is a fucking well-made film, but a well-made piece of art house film. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Versus, like, even The Witch has more mainstream fucking capabilities than this movie does. Now, with that being said, I agree with James. I don't know, actually, because I only watched it once, but I watched it in 3 different sittings, which let it sit and simmer, and I was able to really think, and I kind of think doing that by chopping it up, I appreciated it more than if I had to sit through the whole thing, right, and be just caught up in it all and just have to take it all in at once. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, because there's a lot to take it. So the fact that you broke it up, that could definitely help with. And I don't know where you broke it up, but there are like kind of 3 parts where you could break it up like that if you timed it out right. Where
right.
You know,
and I think I did. You know, like before they got drunk at one point, right? And you know that's a major transition point. You know, like I always try to make sure a scene ends when I stop it and things like that. But you know, there's so much to the movie. Like, there's surface level, and the subtext, I think, it's endless. It's almost endless because he's taking from so many different things, you know?
Absolutely.
So if you like to play with these kind of movies, you'll have fun with it. You know what I mean? If you don't like these kind of movies, then you're not going to like it at all. If you didn't like The Witch because it was made the tagline "scariest movie ever since The Exorcist," I think it was something along those lines.
Really? That's a bold.
Yeah. So you know,
The Witch,
they PR'd the fuck out of it.
Yeah, they marketed it as a different movie than what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Like you would thought you were walking into like a Blumhouse jump scare movie with the way that the trailer looked, and then The Witch was what The Witch was, which I liked. You know, I loved it, but I can understand the Insidious Conjuring crowd showing up and be like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah,
You know?
Right.
It's a very slow burn.
It's in fucking old English. Like,
Yeah.
you got to watch that shit with subtitles,
Absolutely.
you know?
Yeah, which I mean, this movie too, they talk in that, whatever
Yeah.
the hell
Yeah.
sea shanty fucking
Yeah.
shit, whatever you call it.
And that's the thing about the movie. Like, it feels authentic, just like his first movie, The Witch. You know, like it's well made. It's fucking crazy. It's an amazing piece of art film, but it's not something that I loved as much as I love The Witch. Like, where The Witch, like, I instantly watched it again the next day.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? I didn't feel that with this. I appreciated this. Don't get me wrong. I don't think, he's made a great film. But, I asked this question: how far? I love fucking like the analysis. I love the illusions. But like, how far is it too far to where you don't even know what the fuck's going on, man?
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
There's definitely a couple parts where, it kind of towards the end, especially when shit's off the rails. You're like, is this actually happening? Is this like in his head? Like,
Right.
It could definitely.
I love surrealism. Like,
Yeah.
I love surrealism, and I thought this is well done when it comes to that. But again, if you parallel that to, what he did in The Witch, the surrealism isn't. By the end of the movie, you're sitting there like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What did I just watch? What
Yeah.
even happened? Where when you watch, Hereditary, when you watch Midsummer, when you watch those kinds of movies, even The Witch, you have a base understanding of what the fuck just went down.
Yeah, there's more of a concrete storyline, more or less.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
Right.
this movie definitely isn't for everybody. If that's what you're looking for, like if you want to walk out being like, okay, I understood what happened, this movie isn't for you.
Right. Like, I have fun deconstructing it. Like, for example, if I taught this in my class, you could write papers on this shit.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? You could analyze the fuck out of this movie, but they would hate it because they don't like doing that. Versus, let's analyze They Live, where it's like a little more, you could understand it better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't really have to start doing research into Greek mythology, into fucking sea mythology, and all this fucking crazy shit going on.
And that's also a movie you could just watch for base value and not break it down at all and enjoy it. Whereas Lighthouse, like if you're not interested in breaking it down and doing a deeper dive, like you probably won't like this movie.
Right. Like there's that scene where the eyes, and you sent them, it was based off this painting, right? And it's like, that's fucking awesome. Like, that's like almost, that's artist thought right there. You know what I mean? That's what fucking great artists do. They fucking borrow from other artists. You know what I mean? That's what the poets do. That's what the artists do. You know what I mean? And that's what these guys that make these fucking high-end slow burn films are doing.
Yeah. But the average American, one, wouldn't pick up on that, and two, wouldn't care.
Right. Exactly. It's like, who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
But it's like, that's the whole point. You use all the stuff and then you create something new off of it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like nobody has an original idea. I think it's absolutely impossible to have an original
fully
idea.
Original, yeah. No, 100%.
Like even if you look at like Shakespeare, bro, that shit has to do with like the Bible and things that have come before that in history. He didn't just fucking pull it out of his ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, look at the South Park episode with the Simpsons did it. Like, and then they're like, Simpsons stole it from the Twilight Zone. And it's like, that's just what happens, man.
Yeah.
It goes down the line. You take something, you adapt it, you change it into your thing. I mean, look, that lady who wrote 50 Shades of Grey, that fucking chick, it was like a fan fiction of Twilight, and it ended up, making her $1 billion or whatever it did by the time she was done selling books and movie rights and shit.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, like, there's a lot of shit like that.
Are you a big 50 Shades of Grey fan?
I saw it in the theater a couple times. It was pretty dope.
Nice.
Nah, I
It's at
didn't
his
see it
own
at all.
fucking red room of pain.
Yeah, nah,
The wall does look red behind you. I don't know. Maybe we're in it.
it's there.
Yeah, so I'll just kind of real quick. So I saw The Witch before this. Obviously, I didn't see that when it first came out. I saw that on Netflix a couple years after. But when I saw that the director, so this director, he's only done 2 movies, The Witch and The Lighthouse. He's actually got another one coming out, The Northman, which looks pretty cool, but we don't talk about that. But when I saw he was doing this, the thing that drew me in was, first of all, I love The Witch, so I was like, okay, I'm interested to see if he's, what else he's doing. But then when I saw that it was just 2 actors in the whole movie, Robert Pattinson, Willem Dafoe, and then once I saw it was in black and white, I don't know, like we're talking about like something that's unique, and that just kind of drew me in. Like I'm all about when they kind of do things differently. So I was very excited. I've been waiting for this movie for like over a year by the time it finally came out. I saw it in theaters, and same thing like Joe, or I forgot which one of you were saying, like the first time you watched it, I think J-Mac you were saying, you walked out of the theater, you're like, what the fuck did I just watch? And that's what I said, but I wanted to, go watch it again and figure it out. So that it kind of drew me back in. And then finally when it was available on Amazon, I bought it and I watched it a couple times. Like I was saying, I kind of maybe overwatched it a little too much. But yeah, this is one of my favorites. I love to just kind of sit there and break it down in my head. But real quick, you were talking about the dialogue, with the sea shanty kind of talk. So the Robert Eggers actually, so that there was this author back in the 1800s, Sarah Orne Jewett, right? And she wrote a lot of stuff kind of based in the New England area, like Maine, but she would write it phonetically. So that's where they got William Dafoe's, speech pattern from. So that it is pretty authentic. Same way like how The Witch was kind of authentic to that Old English. Like he was actually using like real cases of dialogue to, make it more authentic, which I appreciate that. Thought that was a little fun fact.
Was that a female?
No, the author was a female.
Well, I'm just curious because I know you said the name was what, Sarah?
Sarah Orne Jewett.
Yeah, I just find that fascinating that's who came up with the dialect from that time.
Well, she would interview like sea longshoremen and stuff like that, like
in the 1800s.
Like the late 1800s, yeah.
That's sick.
Yeah.
She must have been.
But people were still
badass.
talking like that. Even sea people were still talking like pirates in the late 1800s.
I guess so. That's the way she wrote it. I don't know if there's much other evidence, and there's no recordings of back then, right? They don't have any of that shit, so you kind of have to go off that. But so.
Well, hold on. This takes place in. I wrote it down in my notes because it shows the 1881. It says July 1881. They have to 4 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
So July 1881. They definitely, he's got to be what, at least 60 years old in the movie, probably.
Defoe?
His character.
Yeah.
So born in the early 1800s. You know what I mean? Probably, definitely.
Yeah, and especially, if you're a seaman, you're out at sea your whole life. When you're young, you're with older guys, and you kind of pick up that dialogue. And I don't know if you've ever spent a lot of time with someone who maybe uses a certain word or a certain phrase. You start picking up on it over time.
Oh yeah.
So that's just
when I hang out with my cousins from New Hampshire, I always start fucking dropping wicked. All of a sudden, wicked comes into my fucking vernacular.
I was up visiting New York for Christmas, and my cousin's wife told me I sound like I'm getting a southern accent.
You came home like bing bong. Spent too much time up here. But yeah, it's before we get into the story and all that other stuff, I want to just kind of touch on some of the influences. You talked about how nothing is really original anymore, and I did some research on the influences on this movie. So first of all, there was actually an unfinished Edgar Allan Poe story called The Lighthouse. Which is about a keeper who recounts his isolation through diary entries and stuff like that. So obviously there's a bit of that in there. There's a lot of Lovecraftian influence with the tentacle monsters and the sirens. And apparently there's in Lovecraft there's an island that has these monsters called the deep ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they mate with humans and create these like hybrid
Yep.
species and stuff. I tried to get into Lovecraft. I bought like a collection of his stories, and I couldn't. I read a couple of them, but it was hard to get into.
Yeah. It's not, you know, even like Edgar Allan Poe, like I appreciate all that shit, but it's like the stories are much cooler if I retell them my way, like
Yeah.
campfire style, not like ye old fucking dickhead,
Yeah. For
It
sure.
was thou raven that plucked at me as Holio. No, you know what I mean? Like, I'm being
sure.
silly, of course, but yeah, like you know what I mean. It's at a point where you're more focused on trying to like break down the language in the story, and it's like counterproductive when you're reading it,
Yeah.
and then you read for 2 pages and you're just like,
What did I just
what
read?
did I just read?
But then you wonder if they would update it and change it and make it like contemporary, speech, would it change the meaning of things? You know what I mean?
Of
Like
course,
looking
it
like they
would.
say like the King James Bible, like he wanted the Bible to sound more poetic, but by doing that, it changed certain things where now that's like its own sect of Christianity. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah.
Like, but and there's a major difference between Fangulo, Lovecraft and Poe. Like Poe's story, a lot of Poe's stories are like easy to read. It might like thinking about it, like he doesn't use that old English shit as much, and Lovecraft doesn't use any old English shit either. I was just fucking around for. Well, Lovecraft he uses a lot of big words, like it's like pretentious sounding. Like when you read it, it's like you know what I mean, like somebody who's like trying to overwrite things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it's like
Poe-
every couple of lines you got to look up the words to see what they mean. You're like, what the fuck is he talking about? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Poe just writes where Poe's actually pretty easy to read now that I'm thinking about it. It's just Poe's fucking awesome. But I'm not crazy about his poetry. I like his short stories. But anyway, maybe we'll have an episode on Poe one day. In the meantime, so Dagon is a short story by Lovecraft, and then there's another one. I can't remember the name of it, but we covered it on.
Color Out of Space.
No, not Color Out of Space. It's something of the mountains or the hills or some shit. I don't remember. But anyway, those are the two stories that have the deep ones, and they're like amphibian-esque, human-esque creatures.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But yeah, so those are the two like literary references. But this is kind of loosely based on a true story. So I just found this out actually. I didn't realize this, but so back in 1801, there was a lighthouse in the Smalls Islands, which is a tiny cluster of rocks about 20 miles off the Welsh Pembrokeshire coast over like United Kingdom, England. Two lighthouse attendants, Thomas Griffiths and Thomas Howell, right? Two Thomases. Early on, Thomas Griffith died from injuries sustained during a freak accident. But people knew that Howell didn't like Griffiths, so like he was concerned that people would think he murdered him. So what he did was he built a little makeshift coffin, and I don't know why he did this, but he hung the coffin from like the top of the lighthouse, like the balcony of the lighthouse or whatever. And then there was a storm, and throughout the storm, the thing was moving around, and it finally broke apart. And so there was just the body hanging by this rope. And while the storm was going on, he was stuck in this little room, I guess at the bottom of the lighthouse. They said it was less than like 5 meters in diameter. And the entire time, this body is just slamming against the window. And he was there for like 3 weeks with all that going on. And it said by the time that the relief boat eventually reached him, the quote was, he was utterly inconsolable and severely affected by this horrifying experience. So he was convinced that like his, teammate over here was trying to like talk to him from beyond the grave and all kinds of shit. He just lost his mind, which is kind of what this is to an extent. Just kind of that kind of terrifying idea of just like being kind of stuck there on your own. No one's coming to help you, and eventually you just kind of start losing your mind. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
The movie, it's so bizarre because one side of me really loves the movie and wants to sit down with it and deconstruct it and pick it apart and see all the different kinds of illusions he's working with. And then the other side of me is like, do I really want to spend all this time doing this? Like, I got so much other shit I got to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's, that speaks to what a lot of us face inside. You know what I mean? The reality of what life is like in 2022, man. Like when you're running the rat race, dealing with so much shit, like our attention spans, we've talked about this already, it's like a flea, you know what I mean? So all those factors, and it's just like, I appreciate it, but let's move on.
Yeah, there's so much content out there to consume that, if it doesn't, draw you in the way it drew me in, to sit there and spend 4 hours, because, it's about 2 hours each watch, to spend like 4 hours minimum just to, fully get it. I understand why people wouldn't want to do that.
And then it's like, all right, now I'm going to go and get my Greek mythology books off my bookshelf and start looking up Prometheus and all this shit. And
well, that's the thing. Like, how many people even have like a basic, like, knowledge of these mythologies? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I know people that
watch
are interested.
it or whatever.
No, I know people that like have done this research on their own because that interests them. Like, I have a friend who's really into Nordic mythology. I don't know why. He just like loves Thor and Odin and all this stuff.
My nephew was little as fuck. Like, he was all wrapped up in all of it. He started with Greek, went into Roman. Like, he knows all. Like, you can name whatever and he'll tell you all about it. But that's like an outlier, like a niche thing. Like the first watch around, my mind automatically went to Prometheus, you know what I mean, with the stealing the fire and all that. But and I'm not like 100% wrapped up in it, but I probably know a little bit more than like a person who doesn't care at all. So like if you're a person who didn't care at all or has no knowledge of, if you just think the only thing you know about Prometheus is that there was an alien movie called that, like you're not going to see this on the first watch and be like, oh, this was tied into this mythology and whatever. Make you run and dig deeper for it,
Yeah.
If he didn't say Prometheus in one of the lines in the movie, right, would have striken a chord, would you still have thought about Prometheus? You know what I mean? Like that right there automatically wrote it down. And I was like, okay, Prometheus, there's a connection here. You know what I mean? But like, if I didn't catch that, would I have associated it with Prometheus? I don't know. I might not have.
I think if you understand the story of Prometheus, that last scene would have knocked it home. Because that's, I don't.
Yeah, because I didn't catch the line the first time around about Prometheus.
I didn't catch it till this time around, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, like this is the first time I noticed him say it. And then, but just knowing about, stealing the fire from the gods, bringing it to humans, blah, blah, blah.
Chained
and
to
then
the rock.
Punished to have your liver eaten. And that last scene, that's almost a direct thing from another painting too, isn't it?
It might be. I'm not
There's
sure.
a painting of Prometheus where he's laid up like that with the thing eating his liver.
Looking like a dead god or something like that. Like beautiful but dead. Some shit like that. And again, like, think about it. Like, for example, I'm teaching a class and like we're talking about some shit and my student was just like, but I look good. And I'm just like, oh God, like these are the masses, bro, of the youngsters. Oh my God, youngsters, what the fuck is happening to me? But you know what I mean? Like
old ass.
People don't, do people even give a shit about shit like this anymore? Because at the college I teach at, you can't even get an English degree.
Really?
The creative writing program that I went to, I don't think it exists anymore at the college. You know what I mean? Like people aren't people don't care. It's about, yo, I gotta fucking make money. I gotta influence. I gotta, or I gotta go work my fucking, labor job.
Well, that's the problem. I mean, that's a whole other issue with the price of college. It's like, I'm sure there's plenty of people who would like to go into literature, or English, or whatever. But it's like when it costs the same as a finance degree, but you're not making nearly as much as someone who has a finance degree. Is it worth to get an English degree? And then when less people get it, they take it away.
Yo, if I didn't get the job, because I was a tutor at the college I teach at in my last semester of grad school. So like I kind of got my foot in the door,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'd even be teaching almost 10 years later, because it worked out, I was taking care of my kids in the day and taught at night until they hired me full time. But it's not easy to find a full-time faculty professor job, man. That shit is few and far between, Well, I would have probably went back to nursing.
Especially when you have people with tenure and stuff, it's hard to get your foot in the door when people are just like, they can't get rid of other people.
Yeah, and then once they end up leaving, they don't make that position again. These colleges are not making tenures anymore.
Yeah.
I don't have a tenure track position. It's crazy. But it is what it is, man. There's no money in art, so nobody gives a shit about it.
It's unfortunate,
Back in the day, there used to be government grants left and right. Poets, artists. Here's $25,000. Go make a book. Now you can't get that shit
because it doesn't make money.
It's not profitable for a company or the government, so they don't care.
It's unfortunate. That's why culture is dying.
And it sucks because like people like us that do love art and shit, it's like it's almost like the world is trying to like take that away.
Mm-hmm.
You got to go work. You got to deal with this. You got to fucking run around on the hamster wheel with the kids, blah, 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 blah. It's like, who has the time to sit, think, and process fucking film? You know what I mean?
Well,
I'm going to go watch a 2-hour
general,
film and
you
think
try to
about
do
it in
your-
my chair with a bubbly pipe and a fucking smoking jacket on.
If you try to even do your own, do something to keep creative, write something, whatever. By the time you're done, making sure you keep the lights on and food on the table, you're so tired, you sit down, you're looking at a blank page like, I should do something creative right now, but my brain doesn't want to work. I'm
Right.
staring at this thing and I'm so burnt out. I can't, I know what I want to say. I just can't make my hands put it, transfer it from my brain onto this page,
Yeah.
That's what brought me to podcasting, man. Like, I couldn't fucking write. I didn't have the strength, but I could sit there and just run my mouth for a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's kind of sad to think about how much stuff we've missed out, whether it be books, movies, paintings, whatever, just because there's people who don't have time to focus on it, like great minds that are just stuck working in a warehouse job or whatever the case may be. You just gotta pay the bills and you don't have time for that other shit.
Yo, I was
That's the thing,
literally
man.
thinking about this the other day. Sorry, bro.
No, I was just saying, the next friggin' Kubrick could be stocking shelves at the grocery store right now.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. Like, I was thinking the other day, I have my own publishing house. We publish poetry. I'm the editor and the publisher. But, I've published my own poems here and there over the last 10 years. But, dude, this August, it's been 10 years since my first and only full-length has been published. I'm like, holy shit, it's been 10 years? That's crazy. But it's like, I've been raising a family, bro. I don't have fucking time to go out on the scene, read poems, network. Between me and my partners in the press, we managed to publish a little book every year. You know what I mean? It's not like, we're fucking sitting here publishing left and right, but it just helps us be professors and look good on paper. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm
But,
published.
I mean, that's the thing, too, is and then when people decide, oh, well, I want to explore the aspects of life and I don't want to have to worry about taking care of kids and shit, Then the Pope tells you that you're fucked up for having pets instead of kids.
See, but that's the thing, like, back in the day, in the 1940s, 50s, and 60s, they would have given a poet, here's $25,000, here's a little fucking cottage, go fucking write, create some art. And they would, and they'd come back and boom, create art and go. And you'd see these artists being interviewed on the fucking news, like, and talking about social commentary, not just about their art. Now, who do we see doing shit like that? Fucking big butt whoas on the television? Like, come on.
And they don't have much, intelligent insight to put into, it's not like they're like an established poet or author talking about social commentary versus a Kardashian talking about whatever the fuck she wants to talk about.
You'd see James Baldwin being interviewed about something going on. You know what I mean? One of the most brilliant minds to ever fucking live. And it's like, what writers, you know what I mean? What artists do you see being interviewed? Like, who are the people being interviewed? Sandra Bullock? Fucking Kim Kardashian? Ben Affleck? Like, come on. You know what I mean?
Well, I think that's a lot of the reason why shit like Rogan's podcast has become so popular. Because Rogan's going to bring a scientist on. He's going to bring somebody who wrote this book about some obscure fucking topic, to come on and have a fucking long form discussion about it. As opposed
to
mushroomologist. Yeah, but like, whatever. Like a dude was on the other day talking about like prescription. He just wrote a book about prescription drug companies or whatever it was. And it's like, on Joe Rogan's podcast, he'll go on and talk about the shit for 3 hours. But if he was invited on, Fox or CNN or MSNBC to talk about his book, he would get the, 5-7 minutes between commercial breaks to plug your shit and get the fuck out of here,
Right. Instead of having deep, insightful conversation, it's just like a plug and out.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the same thing with politicians as well. I mean, going to like the whole debate format. I mean, that's one of the main reasons why, Trump got elected, because he had the best sound clips, making the jokes, lying Ted, little Marco, crooked Hillary, like whatever. Like say what you want about him. He's an entertainer, and that got him the attention.
That's the perfect parallel to this. Like, that's the difference between like the Lighthouse and a movie like fucking Tag or fucking The Hangover. You know what I mean? The The Avengers.
Donald Trump is the Avengers. Movies. Bernie Sanders is the Lighthouse.
Yeah, no, seriously.
He's got so much heat with Marvel movies, this kid. He hates Marvel.
Look.
No, but they're fucking garbage, bro. I'm with you.
Thank you. No, they're
fucking
just
the same shit over and over again. Like, give me that's why I love Guardians of the Galaxy. Dope. Guardians of the Galaxy was sick because it was like a whole breath of fresh air. Now every fucking Marvel movie has a classic rock soundtrack ever since that one. See, it's like, come on, bro. Now enough is enough.
I'm glad you brought up Marvel, because like Marvel, they spend millions and millions of dollars on CGI and all this stuff for entertainment. But the thing that I loved about The Lighthouse, and I kind of talked about this a little bit before, is the simplicity. It's two guys, one set, one location, black and white, small aspect ratio, and like that's all they needed to make this entertaining. Whereas Marvel, they spend all this other stuff, this bright, flashy stuff. Like, I don't know. For me, I appreciate the simplicity and not having to rely on all that external stuff to make it entertaining. But some people might not find it entertaining, so I don't know.
But that's the problem, is like people like us who will, like, cinephiles, whatever you want to call it, people who enjoy to sit down, watch a movie, they appreciate, the undertones, the fucking backstory shit behind different themes or whatever. We could sit here and be like, oh, it's cool that they filmed it in that ratio because it gives you the fucking sense of being isolated with them on this island. But the average person is going to be like, why the fuck didn't they just fill the whole screen up? You know what I mean? Like,
where's the rest of it?
We could sit here and be like, man, the use of black and white was dope, and they were doing the light and the shadow, and he's standing there and the lighthouse is whipping around, and you see the giant shadow of Willem Dafoe's body popping up on the fucking wall behind him. We could think that's cool. Everybody else is like, why the fuck am I watching a black and white movie? This is stupid.
Right.
They make color now, like fucking what makes it great to us is just shit that would piss regular people off more about it. You know what I mean?
Yep. Absolutely.
That's what I loved. It was,
And like
in
I
my
think I
opinion,
said it to Joey about how it might even be better to watch it on a smaller screen. Like I think you asked if you should watch if it was worth watching on your tablet or whatever. And visually, yeah, but I was also thinking when I was watching it this time around, I remember in the theater how much cooler that foghorn was with the giant speakers, like that, that freaking thing going off every couple minutes. Like in the theater where it was like almost like like trembling your seat when it would go off, gave it a different feel than just sitting it on my my TV screen.
Because even when I put my AirPods in, because at one point I didn't have my AirPods in, and then when I put my AirPods in, it was like a whole different thing. You really heard it, you know?
Yeah.
No, and I think again, that's a whole nother thing. Like my sister, I'm like, yo, I can give you a Roku stick for your TV. No, it's okay. She just sits there watching legit TV on her phone all the time.
I can never do that.
How the fuck do you do that?
Yeah.
Bro, Roku stick's like $20, bro.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's money,
I'm always trying to watch the biggest
how many
screen
people
possible.
are like that too?
Yeah, no, and that's a lot of younger people as well. I mean, my brother will sit there and watch. Like, he watches shit on his phone all the time. Like, certain things. Like if you're watching, I don't know. Like he used to always watch Always Sunny on there. Like that, you don't need a big screen to watch. It's a short 20-minute comedy, whatever. I get that. You're laying in bed, you got your phone there. But like if I'm watching a movie or like an intense show, like I want the full experience.
Yeah.
And I need to.
And that's one of the things I heard that. Yeah, they're doing with those VR glasses too. Is that you put them on and you sit down and it looks like you're sitting in a theater.
Oh wow!
So it looks like you're watching it on a giant fucking screen through the glasses.
That's pretty cool. Just real quick, I want to talk about we talked about the ratio, like the size of the aspect ratio. So I did a little research because I was curious as to see like why they did. I know there's the confinement thing that they want to play with, but also. So the aspect ratio was 1:19:1. I'm not an expert on this stuff, but usually it's like 4:3.
Millimeter.
Okay, yeah. See, I didn't even know that, but I was trying to see if there's any other movies like that, and apparently this was only used briefly between 1926 and 1932, while the film industry was transitioning between the silent pictures and the talkies, as they used to call them. So it was very short-lived. So he also did that because he wanted to kind of make it feel like old school, that kind of bring you back there. And another little fun tidbit, they used lenses from that time period as well. They had one lens that was from 1912, and then the other ones were like from the 30s. And I guess they like equipped it to like a modern camera, but I just thought that was kind of, interesting going above and beyond for that effect.
It seems that Eggers is all about the authenticity because even in The Witch, he used the trees in New England that are there around that time. The clothes they were wearing were authentic clothing from that time. It wasn't like, he does his research again, and that adds to, it's not like just let's slap this movie out, let's PR it, and let's fucking make money. It's like, this is my baby. I'm creating life via art,
For sure. No, and I respect that because, like we were saying, like a lot of these movies now, these mainstream movies are very kind of formulaic, copy and paste. Like, you have I saw a post the other day of like all these movies The Rock has done recently, and in every movie, there's a picture of him standing there. He's wearing like a beige button-up short sleeve shirt. He's bald. There's like a forest behind him. Like you could take any shot from any of those movies and put them, interchange them. But it's a formula that works. It makes money. People go to see him because he's The Rock. I'm not hating on The Rock. I love The Rock, but like it's the same thing with the Avengers movies and the Fast and the Furious movies. It's like they find something that works and they stick with it. They're scared to go outside the box and be authentic and try something new.
Transformers
is another one. Now,
dude, I remember when the first Transformers movie came out. It was like, oh my god, Transformers movie, And then it was just like,
how about that Megan Fox too?
Hey, dude.
Calm down. She was like 16 in that before you end up on a list.
Well, I was 16 when it came out too, so it's okay.
It's just like, let's go bigger, more explosions, bigger robots, right?
Yeah, and it's just more of the same shit, And now you've seen it. Which I love Star Wars. You know, see, I'm wearing a Chewbacca shirt, but like doing the same thing with Star Wars now. They're doing the same thing with Jurassic Park now. They got a new one coming out. Like, you know, they're just.
I'll say, as far as TV shows go, though, Disney Plus is doing an amazing job with the Marvel TV series that they're putting out. I binge watched a ridiculous amount of television between when I got back from New York on vacation and when I had to go back to work. Like, it's insane the amount of television that I watched. They've knocked it out the park with every Marvel TV show that they've put out on Disney Plus. And the thing about like the Marvel movies is like, yeah, obviously you're not watching those for the same reason you would watch, you know, Lighthouse, Midsummer, you know, those kind of movies. They're not the same thing, you know. But nothing that shouldn't be space forward. It shouldn't be the only thing that's fed to you or
right.
You know.
100%. I mean,
Absolutely.
I get that not everyone wants to sit there and have to dissect and think about what they're watching. I get, you know, like there's a reason why The Big Bang Theory was so popular. That piece of shit, you know, like some people just want that mindless entertainment, which is fine. You know, that's why reality TV is so popular. You know, people just want to sit there and watch and not have to think about it. I get that. For me personally, I'd rather watch something that makes me think rather than something that just, you know, I just shut my brain off.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I want, if that's what happened when I started podcasting, I started watching so many movies. Remember J Mac? I'd literally have a movie on in the car, like driving to work in traffic, and like because I gotta watch as many movies as I can. I gotta, you know, and it was like, dude, what is the fucking point of doing that? I don't even remember half of them. I don't even remember 3/4 of them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's like, for what? I'd rather just watch a small amount of movies, give that time and energy to the things that I want to watch. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to just start force feeding fucking movies, you know, because it's a new release, you know, and I got to watch every single fucking movie that comes out.
Yeah.
You know, it's the whole, you know, quality over quantity kind of thing.
Oh,
It blew my mind when we were doing one of the old shows, and I forget how it came up, but it was like, oh, I've never seen Schindler's List. And I'm like, bro, you watched a movie called The Killer Mermaids. You've never seen fucking Schindler's List?
I never saw it.
You know, and it's like that, like, especially the way you watch movies, you'd think that'd be like higher on the list of shit that you should check out.
To be fair, you can't really watch Schindler's List while you're driving. You need to focus on it a little bit more.
You know.
But you know what it is? Like, in my head, it's like, why the fuck do I want to watch this movie?
It is a very depressing movie.
You know what I mean?
That's a movie you watch once and you're like, that was great, but I don't need to watch that for like 10 more years.
You know, like Passion of Christ, I'm like, the fuck do I need to watch this movie for?
I know the story.
Yeah, I know the story. You know?
Learned it all the time growing up.
On the screen.
Yeah.
You're gonna waste 2 hours of my life right now?
100%. I agree.
You know, I'm being facetious, but I'm being serious at the same time. Like, you know, like, that's why I don't play video games anymore. One night recently, like in this last year during COVID, I downloaded the NBA 2K game. Bro, I played the video games. Next thing I know, 5 hours went by, and I was just frustrated as fuck from losing. And like, I'm like, what the fuck? What progress in my life? All I did was stress myself out. Like, over those 5 hours, I could have watched the movies I wanted to watch. I could have written something. I could have read something. I could have played my guitar. You know what I mean? Fucking... Instead, I just fucking blew it away. Like, that's what, you know, that's where I am now. Where back in the day, I wanted to fucking play an RPG, create the whole fucking guy, have a whole thing with it. And now I look and I'm like, for what?
Yeah, there's no other progress. Ways you'd rather spend your time.
You know?
Yeah.
But I think that's just part of life when you get older and have kids, and it's like, yo, you only got so much time now, bro. What are you going to do? You going to fucking sit there and play video games for 5 hours, or are you going to fucking go to sleep because you're exhausted so you can feel good in the morning? You know?
Yeah. No, I mean, but you know, it's different for everyone. Like, I know people who don't watch TV or movies at all, but they play video games. Like, that's how they spend their time.
Right.
So it's how you prioritize. Like I was saying, there's so much content, entertainment out there. You just gotta pick and you can't watch everything. And like, if there's something you don't enjoy, then don't watch it. Who gives a shit if everyone's going to see the Avengers? Do what makes you happy. Because we got a short amount of time on this planet. Fucking do what makes you happy.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. And that's the thing. It's like, what makes you happy? And I think there's a difference between doing what makes you happy and being suckered into dumbing yourself down. You know what I'm saying?
Mm. Yeah. If you love the Marvel movies, I know we keep harping on them, but it's not just them. There's other franchises that do. But if you actually enjoy them and you love watching it, great, good for you. Enjoy it. Go see the new Spider-Man movie. Go watch a new Venom movie. Whatever. That's great.
I'll give you a perfect example. Like, if you love the Real Housewives, right? Like, my wife loves reality TV, you know? So it's like, I come in the room, she's watching reality Housewives, but she's on her phone. And I'm like, yo, but you're not even watching. She's like, oh, yeah, I am. I'm watching, But it's like, you're not watching because it's not important.
Yeah.
It's just like, what is it exactly? You're not really watching it. You're on your phone. Is it just more fucking noise. Escapism? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we'll be watching a movie and she'll be asking me, oh, I'm like, bro, we're watching the same movie. Oh, because you're fucking around on your phone.
Well, that's the thing with like those like reality shows and some of that shit is that it is just soundbite stuff. You don't have to watch the whole fucking episode. You have to watch that fucking, minute
right
to minute and a half right before the commercial and right after the commercial. Then the rest of it is just a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they usually recap it once the commercial comes back. Like, it ends with one scene, commercial, and they replay the last scene so you don't miss it. And that's the important parts right there. That's all you need.
Yeah. Like, I get it to an extent. Like, I can sit there and watch the Jersey Shore one with her. You know what I mean? But I think that's because it's a little relatable. But like, it gets to a point though where I'm just like, all right, I can't watch this shit anymore.
Yeah. First season of Jersey Shore when it came out, can't miss television. Like, that was fucking. I was a freshman in high school when that came out. That everyone was talking about it. You had to watch it. If you didn't watch it, you were left out, right? But then there's a second season, and there's a third season, and there's a fourth season. Then they go to Italy, and then now that 5 years later they come back with another. It's like, all right, we get it. It's the same thing over and over. We get it. It was really funny, and it was funny and original the first time it happened, and then it just kind of gets old after a while. But people keep watching it. I don't know.
JWoww's husband's trying to be a wrestler now.
Oh yeah, he'll be on Dark this week, I hear.
They were at AEW the other night.
I used to have a
sitting
for
in the front row.
You know what's crazy? Like, we didn't even really talk about the movie yet.
I know. I was just gonna say, we had a nice little diversion there. I mean, that was a good, that was an important conversation. I think that need to be had.
Right.
But it did relate to the movie in the sense that we were talking
Absolutely.
about. There's like those kind of more, I don't want to say basic, but those movies that you could take for face value versus this, which is like you really got to think about it. I guess we.
So let's throw the spoilers up so we can unveil everything.
I was just gonna say that. So I don't think we necessarily need to go through, because we've already been going for over an hour. I don't think we need to go through the plot point for plot point, but
it's not like a scene by scene thing.
Right.
I think that's what this movie does is bring up conversations like what we had. Mm-hmm. It's just some people don't see the merit to do that.
Let's throw this out here. What the fuck happened at the end? How do you interpret this movie?
That's a good question. A lot of people see like someone who might not be into this kind of movie see the ending and they're like, well, we didn't see what the light was. Like, what the hell was the light? What was that? Now, I actually saw an interesting quote from Robert Eggers. He was asked at the premiere. There you go. So this is the quote. Last night at the screening, someone asked me, why didn't you photograph what Rob Pattinson sees at the end of the movie? And he goes, I said, because if you saw it, the same fate would befall you. I thought that was a nice answer. But but it does kind of leave it open for interpretation, which I do appreciate because we can have a conversation about it. What do you guys think?
I think he was just hacking Tarantino with, the fucking suitcase and the gold light that comes out of the suitcase.
Yeah. I mean, like we were saying, everything's borrowed from somewhere.
The light was Marcellus Wallace's soul.
Marcellus Wallace is time traveling. Yeah. Yeah, it could be. I mean, and we talked about Greek mythology, and I didn't really see this anywhere, but it kind of reminded me of Icarus getting too close to the sun.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too. Got too close to the sun, took a dive, fell down the stairs. But
Well,
then, like I said, that. Go ahead.
I was going to say, he mentions Ahab, and this is the lighthouse, and it does have that, so it's like almost like that was like him trying to capture the Moby Dick.
His white whale, yeah.
So, I mean, there's so many different, again,
there's
right
so
there,
many different,
things,
things in general about like the unattainable thing,
Right.
I don't even necessarily think it matters what was in the light. It's more like you're saying that unattainable thing, like, how something like that could drive you crazy. You spend your whole life trying to reach that white whale, that unattainable thing. It could lead to your downfall, literally his downfall.
Right. You become obsessed. You become insane. You start fucking losing your marbles. Yeah. And next thing you know, you're fucking knee deep in the fucking fart piss shit hole with some fucking lunatic.
Chugging kerosene.
That was disgusting.
Then there's the whole like duality, or is it just him with himself? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's a whole fucking shit with that going on too.
Then you're like, well, maybe they're in some kind of purgatory, and it's like, well, maybe just Robert Pattinson's in purgatory, and Willem Dafoe's character is, the godlike figure who's trying to get him to work out his shit, to abstain himself, to spill your beans or whatever the fuck.
Why'd you spill your beans?
Or I forget what he's called, but in mythology, the guy who's at the gate. Right before you end up in hell. Hades.
Yeah, could be. While we're on the mythology, for people that don't know, I want to just like go over a little bit the mythology references we're talking about. So Robert Pattinson's character, Ephraim, or whatever you want to call him, he's Prometheus in this. So Prometheus, if you don't know, he was known as the champion of humanity. He created man from clay and also defied Zeus by stealing fire, right? Lighthouse, and giving it to humanity. And then we talk about the last scene of the movie. His punishment for doing this by Zeus is he gets chained to a rocket every day, and an eagle comes and eats his liver. But since he's immortal, he's a god. Actually, he's a titan. I don't know the difference, but
Titan or Titian?
Oh, I always thought it was Titan, like Clash of the Titans.
There's two things, Titan and Titian. I think Titian's the planet.
Okay, I think he's a Titan.
Or a color, maybe. But anyway, yeah.
TLT. So since he's immortal, he can never die. So he's just there perpetually being.
Yeah, he just re-heals himself overnight, and the next day the fucking eagle shows up and eats his liver all over again.
Which is the ending here. He gets too close to the light, right? And I actually saw a couple theories about Prometheus that it wasn't actually fire he gave to them, but it was knowledge. Almost in kind of like an Adam and Eve type of story, where it's like the forbidden fruit, that kind of along that.
And if you look at that last scene when he gets hits with the phonogenic, his facial expression shows like almost like euphoria, like bliss, like knowledge
and madness. Mix some madness in there, like mania. Like he's just like it's such a range of emotions.
Like finally,
And that's the thing. If it's some kind of forbidden information or knowledge, that could cause him to go mad like that. It's too much to take in at once.
So then it's like, okay, so what's up with the mermaid? What's up with Blondie? And what's up with Cyclops laser eyes? What are we talking about?
Yeah. Well, so we could talk about Defoe real quick. He's supposed to be Proteus. So Proteus, I got a little thing here. He's an old prophecy-telling ocean god who serves Poseidon. And Homer called him the old man of the sea, right? Mm-hmm. He's an old salty seaman, right? He fits that description. He also
this is definitive because Eggers in an interview says that they are modeled off this.
Yeah, he does say this. He also represents the unpredictable shifts in tides and sea storms, right? In the middle of the movie, the nor'easter comes in, right? There's that once he kills a seabird.
That was a good scene.
It's bad luck to kill a seabird.
A lot of superstition in this movie between that and the bad luck to leave a toast untoasted or whatever the fuck he said.
He could foretell the future, and he's prophetic. So, and there's a couple of quotes that he says, like the scene about, oh, you don't like my cooking, and he goes on that monologue, that rant. He kind of hints at him, coming to an untimely demise. And this I thought was interesting. So in the Odyssey, they say that Proteus lives on an island called Pharos, which is off the coast of the Nile Delta. Now, interesting enough, that island is where the Lighthouse of Alexandria was, which is one of the seven wonders of the ancient world. So I wonder if that comes into play, Lighthouse, Proteus, William Dafoe. I don't know. I thought that was interesting. I don't know if that's what he had in mind, but and I do have the one quote from the scene where he's getting buried alive towards the end. I never really paid attention to this quote, but I was talking about him being prophetic, and once I kind of sat there and I looked at it, it all made sense. So let me just read it, if you don't mind. You wish to see what's in the lantern? So did me last assistant. Oh, what protean forms swim up from men's minds and melt into hot Promethean plunder, scorching eyes, with divine shames and horrors casting them down to Davy Jones. You have something to say? I thought I heard someone. Okay. The others stay blind, yet in it see all divine graces and the fiddler's green scent, where no man is suffered to want and toil, but is ancient, mutable, and unchanging as the she who girdles round the globe. Them's true, you'll be punished. So that was a lot I just threw out there. Let me kind of break it down real quick. So right off the bat, protean forms, Promethean plunder, scorching your eyes. He says, so basically what he's saying is if you have that curiosity, you seek out the light, you'll end up down with Davy Jones. Now, familiar with Davy Jones's locker, that's when they say a ship would sink, that's where the sailors would end up, and it was kind of like it's like a hell, right? So Davy Jones has been quoted as being the sailor's devil, right? So it's like that's kind of, you don't want to end up there. But later on, he says, the others stay blind, yet in it see all divine graces into the fiddler's green. Now, the fiddler's green is another type of afterlife for seamen. It's supposed to be like a big party, basically. It's basically like a bar where everyone's kind of like a tavern where everyone's singing and dancing and happy. So basically what he's saying is like, if you keep pursuing this light, it's not going to end well for you. Mm-hmm. Which is exactly what happens. He goes up to the light, he sees it, and obviously we talked about what happened. But he's saying like if you just kind of, it says the others stay blind, right? So if you stay blind to it, you don't go after it, you'll have a happy ending, more or less. So he kind of breaks down the whole end of the movie in that one quote. I had never caught that before, and I had to actually pause it and like Google the line, and I was like doing all the research. So yeah, I don't know if you guys have anything on that. I thought that was interesting.
That scene when he is burying him alive, though, like, I wonder if that was like crushed up like Oreo cookies or something. I doubt he was letting them shovel dirt right into his mouth while he was talking.
I don't know. Willem Dafoe's,
He gets in there. I saw that was like the second day of filming, and he was not happy about doing that scene for what they were saying. Like, he's just, because first of all, that's a long monologue with like, and it's not just like a normal conversation. Like, it's all this kind of prophetic.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Like, to remember all that while you're getting fucking buried alive.
Yeah, and then you realize like if he stutters during that scene, they have to get him up, clean him off. Start all over again.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's a lot. It's a lot to do in one shot like that. But he's a professional.
I guess it's better to get it out the way. Do you think he was good in this? You should see him in the new Spider-Man movie.
Oh my God. I saw him in the old one.
Shit.
That's all I need to see.
Oh, man. Yeah. Yeah, that scene was wild, though.
Yeah.
What about the dance scene?
Which one? There's a couple dance scenes, isn't there?
Oh, the slow dance, not the chipper dancing.
Okay, so yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I have a whole segment in my notes called homoeroticism.
Ooh. Are we going to start with the fact that the lighthouse is phallic?
Well, it's funny you say that, because in an interview, Robert Pattinson said that it was explicitly in the script that the lighthouse looked like an erect penis. That was his quote. He said that. So like that was definitely in there.
They actually filmed the scene where it was like a fade from a lighthouse to Patterson's erect penis, and the financiers wouldn't allow it.
Oh really?
Yeah.
That had nothing to do with showing his dick. It was about the cost of it.
Probably.
He must have a big dick. It's a lot of film to capture that. We couldn't afford it.
Right there. 35 millimeter couldn't handle it. But yeah, there's definitely like, looking for the acceptance of, Willem Dafoe. There's definitely like a paternalism going on. But I think you mentioned a different kind of gentlemanly thing going on.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is it's not like, I don't want to sit here and say, oh, they were gay, because I don't think it was necessarily about that. I think it was more about like a kind of toxic masculinity in a sense. It was just like, because Defoe, his character was, it was like a power dynamic almost, where it's just like, he kept calling him dog, right? And that's what set him off eventually. He kept calling him dog. It was more like a power thing. And they were fighting, so they keep referring to the lighthouse and light as a female, as her, as she, so they're fighting over that, right? Which you could,
right.
So there's like I actually have a quote here from Eggers. He expanded on that to say that the queer subtext was always at the heart of the movie's central relationship, but that the whole thing is about power dynamics. So it's about Willem pushing, and there's pent up anger and pent up erotic energy and pent up smells. Where's the breaking point?
Right. And to piggyback off that, I have a quote. According to Defoe, the homoeroticism of the film does speak to some aspects of identity and what it means to be a man. This is the quote, toxic masculinity, they're pushing each other's buttons out of fear and out of threat of who they are. And they're both guilty. They have a sense of guilt, of wrong. There's no moral judgment in this story. It's just to watch these two guys struggling to find a way to survive themselves. Really, it's a simple story, but it's got existential roots and identity things and things about masculinity and domination and submission. And for better or for worse, then you see it flip-flop, and it's kind of cool.
Yeah, when he starts dog walking him at the end,
Crazy, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's and I always thought that there might have been something with I forgot what they call him, but the guy who Pattinson let die, and when he was a logger, when he was a timberman, right? I always thought
Ephraim.
Yeah, right.
That was the real Ephraim.
Yeah, exactly.
So was that the blonde that he kept seeing?
Yeah. So and like there was one of the scenes when he's got the mermaid little doll and he's cranking it. He keeps like seeing flashes of that guy and that the timber incident or what happened. So that's what kind of made me think that because here he is trying his hardest to bust a nut to this mermaid statue, right? And he can't, and his mind keeps going back to that guy. So that's kind of what made me think like I don't know, he's battling with his own sexuality, right? Because like this is what I'm supposed to do. Well, not maybe to mermaids, but like I'm supposed to like women. This is what I'm supposed to get off to. But then like your mind keeps wandering back to that other thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean that's the thing. So if they're trying to make commentary about, like, I can understand the commentary about what it means to be a man and masculinity. That I can understand. And especially, like, they try to make, like how in Prometheus is, like, a champion of humanity. Like, he's trying to be there for the right reasons, Patterson. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's trying to get a fresh start. He's trying to,
Right.
Nothing.
And Defoe is like, get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? He's a scurvy old man. So it's I could definitely, the homoeroticism, I don't know. I mean,
there's definitely a sexual tension, in my opinion. I mean, even in one of the first scenes when he's fixing the shingles on the roof and he looks in and he's just looking at them cheeks, Willem Dafoe's just laying there with like those old school pajamas with the flap that opens up in the back. He's just watching him through the hole in the ceiling, and he's just like, why does he keep staring at his ass? I don't know. You know, he's kind of coming to terms, I guess, with his own. And back then, you couldn't be gay.
No, of course not.
You know, and so that like there's definitely that whole repression angle to it as well, which could lead to someone going wild, crazy as well. I mean, because you think about the scene they almost kiss. Like, let's just say hypothetically he was attracted to William Dafoe's character, and they're stuck on this island together this whole time, and he can't do anything about it. That could drive someone. That could lead to someone being, contribute as well to the madness.
Right.
I
saw. Yeah, Jay, go.
No, I was gonna say, like, I just attribute it to, almost like a institutionalized homosexuality. Like, they're locked on this thing, they're stranded, they're lonely, all they got is each other. They start, creeping down that path.
Could 100% be that as well. And, they say sexuality is a spectrum. So maybe he's not 100% gay, but, leave him alone with the man long enough. Hey, maybe he might just end up sucking a dick. Who knows?
Like jail.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe
I also thought it was strange, though. Like, he goes by Ephraim, and then when he finally tells the story about the blonde dude dying, which was very, like, Phil Collins Air of the Night, it turns out his real name is Thomas, like William Dafoe's character.
Yeah.
So, like, them having the same name, I don't know. I started thinking, like, weird shit, like, is this supposed to be, like, his future? Is it just, like, a circular thing?
Maybe it's like a Fight Club type thing, like Tyler Durden,
Yeah.
Well, these are the things that I start thinking about. Is this a figment of imagination? Did he kill him already? Is he in purgatory? And you can take it for all this is the one reason why you can't take it for the surface value of the storyline is there's too many cutscenes to weird shit going on that doesn't equal out to him being insane. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's because you don't know who's insane.
Like, for example, when he's seeing the blonde, when he's seeing the mermaid, when he's walking out on all those rocks, right? Is he really experiencing that? Or is he crazy? I don't think we got enough information to answer those questions by the end.
Right.
Well, he's almost following the same thing, other than seeing the blonde kid, but like seeing the mermaid, like the dude, the wiki that was there before him.
Went through the same experience.
Thing, like lost his shit because of that. And doesn't he say something to Willem Dafoe's character about like almost accusing Willem Dafoe of killing the old wiki?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
because the one-eyed fucking
he finds
seagull.
the head with his zap, but he finds a head in the one of the lobster crates towards the end.
Right.
And the head's missing an eye.
Okay.
Right.
So that could be the
seagull and shit. Yeah, that's what the seagull was.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing is like, at the end when, they miss the boat, right? And he's going about his business and then Willem Dafoe comes in and he's like, we've been stuck here for weeks or whatever. He's like, what do you mean? It's been a day. It's like, has it been a day or has it been weeks? We don't know who's the crazy one. And then like later on, he's trying to take the boat out and Willem Dafoe comes up with the axe and smashes the boat. And then they go in the house. He's like, why'd you smash the boat? He's like, what do you mean you smashed the boat? So it's like, did the former wiki, was he the one that went mad or is William Dafoe the one who's just been going mad this whole time and off in the other guy?
Or is Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe the same person?
That's another possibility. Are they?
That's why they have the same name. You know what I mean? And I thought, so another thing I thought about the film is, the old way versus the new way. You know what I mean? There's a generational thing going on. So is that trying to parallel things going on in our society today? The old way versus the new way. You know what I mean?
Back in my day, this is how we used to do it. Yeah, no, 100%.
Right. And that, we see that a lot now, via technology, via politics, right? All this kind of shit. There's like a major divide going on between the old way and the new way.
And you look at Dafoe, he's gatekeeping the light, right? Like Pattinson wants to get up there. He wants to get to that next level to see the light, to see whatever that light represents. And he's like, no, you're not ready. You're not ready. You got to stay down here, keeping him down.
Yeah, he wants to go by the book. while Defoe's drinking. You know what I mean? And again, think about it. People used to do things under the table all the time back in the day. You can't do that shit no more, bro. Everything is documented. There's trails, digital, a lot of it. So, I was thinking about other stuff that this, the movie might have been about, as I'm watching it, not just, the madness and all that kind of shit. I was thinking about the old versus the new, like why cast this young character and this older character, and you see it, you see through these characters, the generations, they both have totally different ideologies. You know what I mean? You got to go out, you got to have your career on the sea, and that's what it'll be for the rest of your life versus, I'm bumping around from here to here trying to figure out what the fuck I am. Identity. Parallel that to today.
Yeah.
The old way. Oh no, you got to go get a city job, be a sanitation worker for the next 40 years.
Go get a pension,
Yeah.
Yeah. Now people bounce. People like, especially my age, everyone I know, like every 2 or 3 years, they're in a new job. They're bouncing around. Whereas, my parents' generation, both my parents worked for their companies for 20, 30 years, are retired with the pension and all that. That's not how it goes anymore. But then they're like, oh, why don't you just go get a job with a pension? Well, that just doesn't exist anymore.
It's almost frowned upon now to stay at the same job for too long.
Yeah, it's like you're not motivated or whatever. Like they think you're just complacent.
Yeah. So and that's one of the great things about this film, man, because you can interpret so many different things from it. It's not just the Prometheus story or the story about King Triton and the underwater Little Mermaid. And by the way, I called both of those things, right? I was like, somebody's going to be a seal by the end, and it's fucking Ursula.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what about, I guess, the homoeroticism, that definitely not. I'm thinking about that scene where he's basically fucking, what was the guy, Neptune, I think? When he turns into
when he's got
like Neptune,
like the crown, and he's got the tentacles wrapped around him and everything. Yeah. So like exactly like he's wrestling with them, and he sees the woman, the beautiful woman, right, the mermaid or whatever, and then all of a sudden it's Defoe, and then all of a sudden the other guy's in there, and it's like, what's going on? Like he's confused, his mind's all over the place.
Yeah.
Now,
I mean, it's there, but I just don't think there's. What's the outcome? What's the answer? What are they trying to say about it?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, for me, I don't think they're necessarily trying to say like whether he's gay or not, one way or another. I think it's more about the struggle to come to terms with, that he's having these thoughts. Because like I said, he keeps trying to like focus on the mermaid, the female, all this, and then like the guys keep popping back up in his mind.
See, but then you're stuck. Like the whole story of how that dude died was kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
He basically just, I saw him fall in, I just kind of let him drown. Like, you sure he didn't bash him in the back of the head with one of those logs and let him, you know what I mean?
Right. Well, that's the thing.
So maybe he kissed him. Maybe he kissed him, and the guy was like, "What the fuck, bro?" And then he bashed him in the head with a log or whatever.
But it's like, well, that's the thing. It was like, that could be it, or it could just be for whatever reason he killed the kid or caused the kid to die somehow, and that haunts him because he feels guilty about it. And it's not so much that he's having flashbacks of the blonde kid because while he's cranking one out, he wants to think of the blonde kid. It's just that thought fucking haunts him so much.
Yeah,
right.
No, and I saw a quote from from Eggers, and he was saying that Robert Pattinson kept asking him about like this character's like backstory, like, well, what happened up there when he was in the woods, and he wouldn't tell him straight up. He's like, that's for you to decide. I want you to kind of decide that on your own and use that to form your character. So, what actually happened? Like Robert Eggers probably doesn't even know. Like Pattinson might have just made it up in his head and then like kind of form that into the character.
Yeah.
Now,
bizarre, man.
Another little kind of, I guess you call it a theme or whatever, of the movie is, and this kind of struck home for me, but it's living with the shitty roommate. I don't know if you've ever had like a shitty roommate or someone that drives you crazy, but I have. There was this kid, sophomore year of college. Shout out Danny McDougal. He's a piece of shit. But so we got into like multiple fist fights throughout the year. Like it was just bad. Like we hated each other. But so the way it was set up was we had an apartment. There was 2 bedrooms with the 2 beds in each of it, and then the bathroom was right outside our bedroom. So I always had late classes, right? So my roommate had early classes. So he'd get up, go to class, leave the door open. The other kid, who I didn't like, was in the other room, but he would always use the bathroom first thing in the morning and take these just like gross, nasty, loud shits that would wake me up every morning. So those farts, those William Dafoe farts, just like were driven home in my head. I was just like, bro, I know exactly what that's like.
You had flashbacks.
I had flashbacks. Imagine waking up every morning to just like bubble gut shits. You know, just like gross, like loud, like wet. Like you hear it all.
Drinking shit.
Exactly. So that's like that. Really, those farts really kind of resonated with me, because that can like drive you mad.
It's just great how, in the first movie there's like not an ounce of any kind of fucking comedy, 100% straight serious. Where here, he gives us some schmirks here and there, you know what I mean?
You get the farts, you get the whole scene with, but you like me lobster, don't you?
Right. So it's nice that Eggers, while making a serious piece, is able to, make us laugh a little bit.
100%. And it could like relieve the tension at certain points too, especially after that scene where he says he doesn't like his cooking and he goes off on the whole like arc, and then like at the end he's like, all right, fine, have it your way. I like your cooking,
Yep. Sometimes you just gotta please him.
Well, at that part of the movie, was it just me or did Robert Pattinson's accent kind of turn into like JFK impersonation?
It was definitely like a New England, Boston-ish kind of accent for sure. But I think that was his character. Like he was from like that.
But like all of a sudden to me, I felt like I was listening to the fucking mayor from The Simpsons, who's basically a parody of JFK.
Yeah. But maybe that was just because his character was drunker and he was just kind of like more. Because he was pretty quiet in the beginning. You didn't hear him talk a lot.
Yeah.
Like Defoe would always be trying to get him to talk, and he was just kind of reserved. And he was like, "I'm just here to do my job. I don't want to like ruffle any feathers or anything." And then once they started drinking and things went off the rails, it was like, "All right, all bets are off."
Fucking slapped him.
Yeah, right.
And he looked afraid. I was like, oh, shit.
Well, in the beginning of the movie, you get this quote, something like this: "Boredom will turn a man into a villain. Booze is the medicine, and it's what keeps the sailors happy," or something like that, right? And like Patterson doesn't drink, he's not really a sailor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I think he has some dealings with alcohol himself. I think that's why he doesn't drink to start. Because once they start drinking, they both go off the fucking wagon,
Right.
But
Defoe could you could tell Defoe could handle himself.
Right.
Not that
he was a functioning alcoholic.
Shit. Right. He's up in the morning doing his job still, and you could see there's that shot of Defoe, when he's up by the light and he's just like, he looks like fucking dead Jesus. You know what I mean? But then he's right back to work, in the next scene. He's up and at it.
Yeah.
But, it makes sense. Think about it. Like, if you're living, that life at sea and that life of isolation, if you don't numb yourself with the booze, it is real easy to drive yourself insane,
Cabin fever, man.
Sometimes you just gotta shut your brain up, you get too much time to just sit there and think, sometimes you gotta dull the senses a little bit.
I've seen online a lot of people comparing this to The Shining because of the whole isolation and madness thing. And like, all right, yeah, they're isolated and there's like a descent to madness, but that's kind of like where the comparisons end. Like, I don't see.
No, there's definitely a different dynamic just between the characters, because I mean, The Shining is just, Jack Nicholson.
Rewatched it a couple of months ago.
It gets better every time I watch it. I always pick something up that I didn't see the last time around. Like I watched it, I want to say 6 months or so ago, whatever. But I hadn't seen it in like a couple of years, and I felt like I saw it for the first time. Like I just saw it with a whole new lens, and I like really, really grew to appreciate it after that. But not that I didn't like it before, but for whatever reason, I don't know if I never actually sat down and paid full attention or whatever it was, but that's one that gets better on each watch.
You know, like this movie, I'm not gonna go seek it out and have to watch it again, but doesn't mean I'll never watch it again. You know, I thought it was good. I liked it. I thought it was good. I'm gonna give it 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. Nice, solid score. Solid score. What do you got, J-Mac?
I gave The Witch 10 out of 10, just so you know.
Yeah, I'd probably give it around that same thing too. 7.5 or an 8. Like I said, I think it really just it doesn't have the rewatchability to me, because if you just don't dig as deep as we just dug into it, and you only take it for the surface level of this is a movie about these two guys' descent into madness, like, is that good of a descent into madness movie? When you compare it to something like The Shining.
Yeah, no, there's definitely better. I wouldn't disagree with that in terms of like that genre, descent into madness.
Yeah.
Like, this is on the level of like a novel, a short story. You know what I mean? Like every scene holds weight, not just for what's happening, but there's things beneath the surface.
Yeah, and I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. I'm just throwing that out there, but for me personally, having talking about it on this show, and then we did TNT, we talked about it as well back in the day when it first came out. Being able to talk to someone about it, I feel like helps me appreciate it more as well. Like if I just went to the movies, watched it by myself, came home, and I was like, well, that was interesting, and I didn't do any research, and I didn't talk to anyone about it, then like I would kind of just forget about it. But the fact that we are able to sit here and talk about it and talk about all these different aspects of it, for me, that adds to the value of it as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the thing. It's not something, again, you don't, like, for example, like right now, we're going to log off. It's fucking midnight. You think I could fucking pop something on that I'm going to focus on?
No.
No, I'm going to fall asleep in front of Night One on Street Part 5. You know what I mean? For the 100,000th time.
Yeah, I'm going to put on Knight Rider because it's on Netflix now.
Nice.
Like something like this, I want to watch fucking at 9 o'clock in the morning after I drop the kids at school, maybe eat a fucking cap and a stem, you know what I mean? And really go down the rabbit hole. It's like it's a viewing experience. It's not just, I'm going to sit and watch a flick.
There's definitely, you're talking about how your wife would watch something like while she's on her phone. This definitely isn't an on your phone movie.
No.
You cannot.
No, not at all. You miss one little thing and it's a wrap,
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, I think that, did you guys have anything else?
Nothing on the film. I think we're good.
Sweet, dude.
Yeah. Okay. It was good. So, yeah, I forgot to mention this earlier. Check out the link tree. We got the blog still up there. I don't know. We haven't posted anything in a little while, but the holidays are crazy. Everyone's got stuff, family. Everyone's moving around. J-Max moving way out of state, crossing borders.
Oh, yeah, I got to see him and touch him. It felt great. We were standing on a corner like a bunch of Lighthouse.
It was nice.
Homos.
It was a sweet little trip into the dystopian nightmare that is New York City.
Yeah, he was up here. I got to see him as well for a little bit. But now everything's kind of calmed down. Everyone's back in the routine. So hopefully we get some more stuff up there. Check out the Spotify. We're gonna have the new songs up there as well. And again, like we said, next episode we're gonna be talking about the documentaries Unacknowledged and Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind on Amazon Prime if you want to check it out. Any closing thoughts? Anyone had anything else?
Nah, I think we're good, man. Hit up the Instagram, Linktree, all that stuff. We're around doing things. We're gonna try to figure out the world of Facebook this week, see how that goes. Oh, R.I.P. Bob Saget. Found out he passed away just before we went on air. While we were gone, Betty White passed away.
John Madden.
Sidney Poitier. I've never seen him in a movie, but he's regarded as one of the greats.
Oh, dude. Do you know that In the Heat of the Night? You ever heard of it?
No.
Oh, yeah, that shit is good.
Yeah.
It's a classic.
I might have to check it out, just out of respect. But yeah, no, so, some unfortunate news in that respect, but RIP to all of them. Rest in power. Yeah, I think that's about it. It's a good show,
RIP.
boys.
It's been a pleasure.
Sure.
It's been a pleasure. Peace.
I'm going for a choke and a toke. Until next time.
All right. Later.